I'm an artist, a researcher, a writer, and Sarah and I have worked together on a few projects in the past, all around climate justice. And when she approached me last year, June, and asked if this is something I'd like to be involved with, I immediately said, yes, I want to do that, and I want to do that with you. And we didn't understand perhaps how big the project was going to become, but I think it's become a lot bigger and more expansive, and I think it's quite deep and has quite a lot of meaning.
We had these letters written by people in the movement. We also did an open call to have artists apply. I think that what we realized is we put out an open call basically because it's the open call that we always wanted, because resources are so difficult for artists, I think in general, in the global south, in South Africa, to find spaces, and there's so much talent.
There was always an element of social justice and using art as a revolutionary tool. And so I think that is for me, I think it speaks to, that's the purpose of art. Like, art is supposed to speak to the times that we're living in. It's supposed to bring hope. It's supposed to reflect our everyday lives, and I think this cohort and this project is so necessary and relevant at the moment, in terms of kind of highlighting the impact of climate change and how it affects all of us.
The process of creating the Climate Lounge artwork, I spent more time on reflection and reading because I felt like it was more important to have the concepts down, because the work is more conceptual than it is physical. And so I looked at different materials and some different textures, and that brought me to working with burlap sack, which is this material I have next to me. And so basically these burlap sacks come from South America, and these were mainly used to kind of transport coffee by ship or by cargo plane. And the reason why I thought this would be a very interesting material because of its historical context. Because when we look at Brazil and also the different slave plantations and the coffee mining, I kind of connect that to my country's history with King Leopold, and I just look at all of these different cross references, and just the material itself has so much weight. And so I thought it would be a good base for the artwork, and just the idea behind how our inputs or how human beings actually contribute to what's happening to the world and climate change, how deforestation is happening, all of these different issues.
We come from nature, and to nature we return. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at, trying to see how I can bring about the small changes or the big changes within the conservation sector, so that we have a more pluriversal and more inclusive and more just and caring relation with land and with each other, and with plants. And I think in many ways Asachai is a teacher, and I'm still learning, and I'm still trying to understand its stories. And so in the book that I've been working on for this And Yet We Imagine project, I've also included a component of
the stories from Asachai, and really imagining what it would be like if we could communicate with plants, and if they could also share their stories with us. What would they say?
Because nature is very aesthetic, it's pretty, so it makes you want to paint it too, and it gives you that sort of artistic inclination.
We do arts and culture programs with the learners after school. The program is aimed at fostering creativity, building confidence, so that our learners can be equipped.
My work is called On Fragility, and it's a meditation on the ocean and how we are ocean bodies. I'm looking at the idea of ocean and land right now in the world being very fragile, and how we come to those spaces as our most fragile selves, and how the work itself can be fragile and that not be a point of shame, and we can create work from a space of fragility.
The idea was that I paint and I also make land art. So I do quite a lot of work using found materials in the landscape. And I was trying to think, Claire and Sarah were suggesting, wondering if there was a way I could bring land art ideas into an exhibition space, which is always hard. So my first idea was to make models of art woven using natural materials and found waste on the farm. But when I decided to work with the kids, I showed them, we watched videos. They were very excited to watch wildlife videos. I thought it would be worth constructing them out of waste materials, found materials, and they got very involved in painting the textures and the stripes.
Tomorrow is something else, but it's beautiful in terms of wearing it out, maybe like on paper, because we might not have these papers to write on tomorrow, and then we will just imagine what we have maybe today, tomorrow. But if we don't have maybe inks on our pen, we will imagine. But yet, what are we imagining if we can't have today for tomorrow?
I've also gotten quite into understanding or trying to understand indigenous knowledge and where that comes from, and how we as humans have been living together with nature for millions of years, and possibly also South Africa is one of the places where modern humans are coming from originally.
Because in these times, art is what we need.
It has been interesting journey, because we got the theme that we don't usually do, because most themes that we do talk about social issues, like things that are happening in our communities. So this theme to us, it was like a bit difficult, because we did the geography back then when I was high school, so I had to do many research, but I tried to not overthink it, because in theater anything is possible. Because this is a theater show, anything is possible. I just decided to do my research and understand more about the climate change. And the kids, they were interested, even though it was not that easy for them to catch up, because they have to know the lines, they have to know the movement, because the approach of the play, it's a physical theater. There's a lot of physical theater, and it's hard for the young people who are doing grade 8, grade 9 to just adapt immediately in physical theater.
When I saw the call, I was just so excited. I was like, this is for me. I got to be in this. Like I was already writing very passionate eco poems, which, you know, an eco poem is, for me, is about sort of like an activism stance in poetry. It's not just nature poems. It's not just a poem about a beautiful nature scene or something like that. There's a little bit more of an urgency to it.
Turning to Flowers project is where we seek to mesh more kind of botanical knowledge of flowers with the artistic space, and then using up-to-date information on the conservation status, or also historical information of where plants used to be, to help inspire artistic endeavors, both in the form of dance, drama, and some art as well. In terms of more visual art, photography, and using the flowers as the core inspiration for that. And when we talk about the flowers, we are at this moment in time talking about indigenous flowers.
Mountains high, that skies that scratch, the winds that blow, a world where life continues to grow. The forest green, the rivers clear, the fields of gold, the air we breathe.
So we need to have an eye of tomorrow, even though we don't know what might happen. But we need to imaginalize, which is why we say we have to imagine.
And that's so interesting because it actually connects with something that Adrienne Maree Brown says. So she's the person who we've been inspired by her quote, and her quote in terms of the name of the exhibition, where she says, "We have not experienced a world without hellish beliefs and behaviors, and yet we imagine." I think that it's the start of something really exciting. I don't think it's just going to end, I hope, with this exhibition. You know.